Last time I made a video about Ford Falcons and why they end up at the junkyard. But it wouldn't be fair unless I made the same video on Holden Commodores and why they end up at junkyards. Now before I start this video, I just want to preface, not really a Ford or a Holden guy, I like both. I just happen to own more Fords than Holdens, but I like both a lot. So before you guys get annoyed and start screaming at me in the comments, just bear that in mind. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the infamous Ecotech engines, or the Rattletechs, the chain munchers, the chain eaters, whatever you want to call them. The 3.6 litre V6 from Holden that were also used in a bunch of GM vehicles. So obviously, because of lack of maintenance and poor design, these Ecotechs tend to start having timing chain issues that can happen between 100 and a million kilometers. It really depends on how well the car's being maintained, but because of the design issues, they weren't really given the best chance to survive these Ecotechs. So, well, like I mentioned before, these engines were used in a lot of GM products, Cadillacs, Chevys and whatnot. And in the US, they actually revised the PCV system for the crank ventilation system on these V6s to where it wouldn't have as many problems with burning oil and thus starving the head and the guides of oil and timing chain tensioner of oil, which would then cause the chain to stretch, start rattling, and then ultimately fail. It's really strange because they never implemented that change here, unless, as far as I know, in Australia, but a lot of the timing chain issues were resolved in America, and it would have been good if they did it here too. But as well as issues with the timing chains, they also had heaps of other electrical problems, such as the ABS, the starters, alternators, a lot of the control modules, cooling issues as well, plastic cooling components and whatnot. But like any old car, those things will happen, but because they're not worth very much money anymore, all these costs start adding up and they end up mechanically totaling the car, and that's why they end up here at the junkyard. Now the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit controversial. It's the same thing with Ford owners. When you start bringing up 4-speed BTR automatic gearboxes and talking shit about them, people start to get a little bit defensive, and I think you know what I'm about to talk about now with Holdens. The infamous 4L60E transmission that are found in a lot of V6 Commodores from this generation. So a lot of the problems that occur with these 4L60 GM transmissions are because of people not servicing them properly, abusing them, not maintaining them like I said just before, but they do have some inherent flaws, engineering flaws, such as valve bodies, torque converters, clutches going out, stuff like that. It doesn't matter how well you maintain them, eventually they will give out. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Just like the BTR gearbox. Yes, they can last a long time, but they do have their common problems. And usually, especially when it comes to automatic transmissions, doesn't matter what car they're in, they're really expensive to fix. And so when a 4L60E transmission goes out, it's usually cheaper to just scrap the car. Ah, look at this. Ecotech, Mang. I'm going to be very choice with my words here. These, very, very good engines. However, because they're in cheap cars, a lot of the problems will write the car off. And I'll start from the top in no particular order with the intake valley gasket, which I believe leaks coolant, and it leaks in between the valley. Coolant goes everywhere. People think it's the water pump because it starts leaking through here and then down here. So they start replacing that, spending money, more money. They're like, this thing, not spending any more money, and they scrap the car. Another problem, many oil leaks. Valve cover, sump gasket, power steering leaks, as you can see here. In saying that, these engines are the Holden version of the intake. Extremely tough, extremely reliable, and they'll keep going even with all these issues. But if you're buying one and you need to get a roadworthy for it, don't expect it to be cheap. Even though the car's cheap, doesn't necessarily mean that to fix all the problems are going to be cheap. And that's why these cars end up at wreckers, because their repairs cost way more than the car is worth. Alright, this is an honorable mention. The Holden Cruise, doesn't matter what year you get, they're all everything is crap on them. The 6-speed automatic transmissions, they fail. They had a technical service bulletin, something about locking up on the highway, or again, valve bodies failing, torque converters failing. The turbos, if you get a turbo one, the head gaskets go, the water pumps go, the thermostats go, everything is crap on them. There's nothing good about these cars, especially the diesel ones, injectors, injector pumps, and a lot of NPCs bought them. They're everywhere on the road. I don't know why people put money into them. They're just like Captivas, but smaller. And the reason I'm talking about this car is because these cruisers are like the third most common car at the wreckers, aside from like Commodores and Falcons. And I can see why. I can't even remember shit that goes wrong about them because they're so bad. Since we're on the topic of shit Holdens that aren't Commodores, the Captiva. I made a video a while ago about what kind of cars you can find at the wreckers, and I had some very colourful things to say about these cars. A Holden Captiva. Absolutely horrible vehicle. I hate them. I hate them. I hate the people that own them as well. They're so lackluster. They're just crap cars. People that buy these cars are now transitioning to Chinese cars like MGs and BYDs and all that crap. This is the type of car you buy when you're giving up on life. You just can't be bothered anymore, and you're like, you know what? My life is already crap as it is. I'm gonna buy a Captiva to complement it. Eventually, it'll catch fire. We're moving on to VE Commodores. Now tell me honestly guys, even if you're a Holden person, would you pick a gassy FG over a gassy VE? These cars, around the same year, this will be like an 08, 09 FG, and same thing, this will probably be an 06 to 09 VE Commodore, 3.6 Alloy Tech, the 4-litre Barra. My bad, this could actually be a 3-litre. I've already spoken about the Alloy Tech. I haven't spoken about the 3-litre, but they have the same problems as the 3.6, except they're worse because they're slower. But we're going to move on to the interior because VEs are just absolutely... VE interiors just have like a really bad aura about them. They're just cheap, nasty. Look at this. Nasty crap. And don't even get me started on these handbrakes. One of my mates used to have an SV6 on his piece, and whenever he pulled the handbrake up, he had to make sure not to break the lever because these would always break apart. I don't know why they made the handbrakes like this. Maybe it's looked really nice and blended in, but it's not very ergonomic. Another thing are these steering wheels. The most common place where you hold a steering wheel is at 9 and 3. They would just start peeling up here, like right here. The stereo systems, doesn't matter what stereo you get in VEs, VFs, VZs, doesn't matter. This Blaupunkt stereo may as well be a cassette player because they're so bad. The speakers are horrible. Look, if you're a Holden person, by all means torture yourself by owning a VE. Before I move on from VE Commodores, there is a class action that was launched recently on VEs, VFs, Captivas, I think cruisers as well maybe. Anyway, mainly Commodores, about their 6L80 6-speed automatic transmissions. So they have issues with valve bodies and they have issues with torque converters, so there's a big class action going on. Not really surprised, although the 6L80s I'd say are just as reliable as ZF 6-speeds in B-series Falcons. They're good, they're very good when they work, but when they don't work, they're very expensive, and that's why they end up at junkyards. So this isn't exactly going to send the car to the wreckers. It could, because of the potential repair costs, but Commodores, I think it's VU onwards, they have a unibody construction for the tub. So the tub is actually a part of the body. So if you get into an accident, you can't just replace the tub like this thing where it's separate and it's not $1 million to replace. You actually have to replace the whole rear quarter, which most of the time is not worth it, and the car gets totaled out and ends up here. And on the topic of Holden Utes, why do Holden Utes have independent rear suspension? I know some of them came with live axle rear suspension. I'm not quite sure of the ones that do. But this has got some BMW rear trailing arm looking rear setup in it. A utility vehicle, in my opinion, should have a solid rear end like a Falcon. It's easier to fix, and it's more reliable. There's less stuff to break on it. I will say one good thing that Commodores have over Falcons, and oh, what is that? Look at that. I think this is where Falcons and Commodores can share something. The owners, some of them, what are you doing, man? What is this? Come on, bro. But anyway, as I was saying, the interiors on Holdens, sort of VT to VZ, they have better quality interiors than Falcons. So, although they do have tears here and tears here, whatever, like every other car on planet Earth, the door cards seem to be a lot sturdier. The steering wheel seems to be a lot sturdier, and all of the other stuff in the interior, apart from the shifters, that's about the only thing. But everything here seems to be in better nick than Falcons. Well, we meet again. I want to get in the habit of being a little bit more personal with you guys. So at the end of most videos, I'm going to be sitting down and responding to 5 comments that you guys leave on the previous video. So let's get started. We're going to start off with a very positive comment from McFredo. Thank you very much, McFredo. Hey mate, your video is great. I like what's honest, and I'm much older than you boys. Good work, mate. Thank you very much, McFredo. This one is a pretty funny comment. It's from Timeless Engineering, and it says, you're forgetting Ford, F-O-R-D, first on rubbish dump. That's pretty funny. I love all these like acronyms people give cars, like BMW, Bavarian money wasters, Lotus, lots of trouble, usually serious. If you guys got any funny acronyms for like car manufacturers, leave them down in the comments. Now we got another comment here, which is quite relevant to this video. Cameron Heideloof, I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Holdens are much more better than Fords. I think in some regards they're better, and I think in some regards Fords are better. I'm not biased to anyone, even though I've owned a lot more Fords than Holdens, like I said before in the video. I just prefer Fords because I'm more familiar with the platform. All of my mates own Fords. At 94 Toxic 94, it says, because Falcons and FPV suck. Look, you're entitled to your opinion. Every car has its ups and downs. At heart, I'm actually a Euro guy. Like, my first proper car was a Mark 7 Golf, and then the car after that was a VW Passat R36. And what was ironic about those cars was that the Mark 7 was basically brand new. It was a demo. I had more problems with that car than I did with my Passat R36, which was 8 years older, and it had 10,000 more Ks when I sold it. The Mark 7, even though it's a newer car and it has warranty, I had more issues with than the older car. And we're gonna finish off with a hate comment. Now, there's significantly less hate comments on this video than there was in the last one. And a lot of people are defending me, which you guys know who you are. Thank you so much. It's just a part of being, I guess, a YouTuber. You're putting yourself out there, and the byproduct of that is that people are gonna support you and people are gonna not support you. On to the last comment, at Slater-RH1QR. Nothing wrong with Falcons, this video is rubbish. You might be right, this video could be rubbish. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching this video. If you're enjoying these Wreckers videos, please suggest some more topics that you want me to talk about at the Wreckers. Different cars, Euro, Jap, Aussie, any other topics, any other Wreckers you want me to go to. Let me know in the comments, and of course, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.